So Arsenal won, Brentford won. 3 games in all competitions without a win now, Kenny. 5 points dropped in our last 2 league games, and Manchester City coming on Wednesday. You're obviously at the game. What did you make of that today?
Well, first and foremost, Ivan Toney is, it's just showing why he was in England's selection. He was the best player on the pitch. I don't think any Arsenal fans have got any dispute about that. There was nothing controversial about, Brentford getting a point today. As you said, the first half, they had 2 clear-cut chances. In Wemo, he just somehow missed a chance. Ivan Toney's at the bar for when he had an open goal. And, they got in amongst us. They won their tackles, won their second ball. Ivan Toney completely dominated Saliba. Let's just cut the crap. Saliba's had a good season, but today Ivan Toney was a man of match performance. Completely won every header, held the ball up. Won fouls. Got his goal. Though in my Instagram, we thought it was Pinnock. We all knew it was Ivan Toney, but for some reason they said it was Pinnock. But I think on the stadium that's Pinnock. So we thought, okay, we're going for Pinnock, but it was actually Ivan Toney, and it said a lot about the game. If you look at us in itself, don't get me wrong. First 15 minutes we look electric, but when teams kind of weather the storm after 15 minutes, that's when teams, the opposition becomes very comfortable, especially at the Emirates, and then they tend to come into the game a lot more. And as I said before, we just struggle to break teams down, especially teams with the low block, especially when they when they get it 1-1. And I think that's where I repeat myself, and I have no problem repeating myself, because if you think you're right with your opinion, I think I'm right with opinion. Jesus is a massive miss for us.
Yep.
It's not even like any criticism against Eddie, because Eddie, all intents and purposes, worked his nuts off.
Yeah,
but
didn't get any service, really.
Didn't get any service. But someone like Jason, you don't really need to give Jason service. He's the one who actually goes hunting for the ball. He brings defenders out of their comfort zone, and what will happen is that it creates space for Martinelli. Martinelli had a shocker today. Let's face it, he had a shocker. But that's not because, it's not saying he didn't try. It's that everything he tried didn't work. There were times when Martinelli came deep because there was 2 men on him. And when he was coming deep, he was getting in the way of their correct, in Partey's way, sometimes getting in Odegaard's way. But you understand why Martinelli did it. It's because there was no space. Teams are not giving Martinelli these one-on-ones. Like Saka's kind of copes with it, because Saka's got the ability to come in cutting on his left foot and still be creative. Martinelli at the moment is too raw. And I think that is a casualty now. When you look at Martinelli's performance, you're thinking, who's going to start against Man City? Are we going to start Martinelli because we're assuming that because Man City are going to play, they might leave space? But if Man City play the same way that I expect them to play, in terms of saying, hang on here, this guy's getting no space, then maybe you have to look at a team selection and look at Trossard. I mean, and then there's other elephants in the room as well. Ben, Ramsdale again. First Saliba gives away a free kick, but Ramsdale, what are you doing, mate? You've got to dominate your area, son. I mean, I know it's not just him. You've got to clear that. You've got to clear that ball.
Mate, there was about 5 clear, unchallenged headers and touches in that box without a single Arsenal player getting anywhere near him on that goal. It's mad.
And that's the thing. When you're champions, or what people believe to us being champions elect, you have to work your way into the games. And then when you go a goal in front, then you make yourself difficult to beat. You don't have to try and like I said, try and win 2 or 3-0. Sometimes, winning by 1 goal is enough. It's about the points now, and I'm just thinking that we're not running an empty. We're just running that in empty mentally, and in terms of like creativity as well. You look at the situation. You take on Chucky, you bring on like Fabio Vieira, because we're lacking a little bit of creativity. So it's one of those things where
he did nothing when he came on. Literally,
absolutely
the last chance in the game, I don't know what he was doing with that free kick. Kenny, there was a lot of poor performance today, right? A lot. Yeah, the only real bit of quality we showed in that game, we scored from. Yeah, the ball from Odegaard, Saka bullied his man, and then lovely cross, Trossard backstick tapping.
And that was the only time we got him beyond the Brentford defence is when because what's happening is that normally what happens is that when you get in behind teams, what happens is that they're on the back foot, and that's when you get little space. And Trossard was able to find that little space. Now, if Saka didn't get behind his man, and you put that cross in from a standing position, Brentford clear it away, and that's one of the things. We weren't getting in behind Brentford enough in those situations. There were times when, down my side of the pitch in the second half, where we're trying to rake an opium. People were trying to get into these little areas, but the door was just slammed shut. And I think that's what we're doing. We're struggling to break teams down. The DNA of the sort of performances that teams going to have from now on is they are going to play like that, because they've seen what Newcastle did, a month ago, when Newcastle were able to get that low block, but make sure they win their second balls, win their headers, and teams said, rightio, that's how we're going to play. Man United probably made a mistake in trying to play football with us, but it's because they're Man United. They've got to play. But other teams, even Man City in that cup game, had a low block.
Yeah.
And made themselves.
And Everton last week showed everybody how to beat Arsenal.
Definitely. But again, we've got a game on Wednesday, and then we've got Aston Villa. We've got to find a way to unlock the door.
How do we do that? Because Zinchenko today, for me, I thought he was shocking. Yeah, absolutely shocking. And in these games, when we're going to dominate the ball, it's going to come up against. We're going to come up against a low block, and they're going to play very narrow within the width of their penalty box there, and they're going to leave us the space out wide. But then, as soon as we get the ball out wide, they'll all filter over. Yeah, and they all get back over when we switch it the other side. They're very quick in. As soon as the ball gets flipped to one side, they all shuffle. When we've got Zinchenko playing inverted, is that not time to say, okay, cool, take Zinchenko out and bring Tierney in? Because at least you've got somebody that can overlap, which forces a player onto the back foot. Whereas we're very predictable with Zinchenko. I'm not distancing
maybe that is the way, because maybe you look at it, you say that Martinelli's struggling without Jesus, but also Martinelli's probably struggling because Tierney actually is giving him that width. So when Tierney gives Martinelli that width, Martinelli can go and ghost into those little positions where he does find himself in a one-to-one, because Tierney's creating an overlap. Because the two players who are marking Martinelli, one of them's got to try and block Tierney's cross. Tierney does a little feint. Martinelli goes into that little areas and runs to the penalty where he knows he can't be fouled. So that is an area. But the thing about it is that when you bring Tierney onto the flanks, what you're taking away is that extra man in midfield. Because again, when teams are putting men behind the ball, you do need an extra man in midfield, or Zinchenko to play inverted. So that kind of teams can neutralise that. It's okay. Boom, boom. We're gonna be like for like against Arsenal. So all we really got to worry about is Tierney getting down those sides, creating those crosses, and Miley going there. So what you do is that you ask, all you got to do is one of your midfielders just stays back and moves through a few yards back, and I think that's one of the situations. I think the remedy is, Jesus. Because the thing with Jesus is that he's not going to just hug the touchline. He's not going to just, hold the ball up. He's going to get into areas where sometimes he's going to come into the midfield, and then that's license for Martinelli to run forward. Or sometimes he's going to go in Martinelli position, so Martinelli can go in the middle. So it's one of those things where it's all about space creation, all about taking defenders away. And Eddie, as much as he's good at Eddie's, proficient of being, obviously a boxer, box-to-box player, and also he runs down the channels and he hunts down clearances. Sometimes it's Jesus we miss, and that's one of the things, especially in tight games like this. You can have Vieira on, you can have Zinchenko in the inverted role, you can have Odegaard in that role, but if teams are set up in a low block, then it's all about space. Making space and dragging teams. What we didn't do against Brentford, we didn't drag them out of their comfort zone. They're able to stay in their designated area and be able to mark. And all we would do is pass around them. They didn't move. They didn't have to move because they moved out the area like they did with our goal. And what's happened is that was able to leave space for Trossard. But if you look at our attacks, they didn't have to move because they were set up. But all they did was that if the Arsenal man had the ball, then maybe they moved maybe a half a yard. But normally,
a shuffle to the left, shuffle to the right.
They didn't have to, and that's what you need. Someone like Jesus to get them out of those areas where there's space. There was no space.
We had nobody in that team
today
today that causes panic. Yeah, nobody.
No,
and Saka tried his nuts off, and same with Eddie. Yeah, I thought Partey was poor today as well, apart from the last 20 minutes.
They targeted Partey because they know that Partey, you know, in terms of what he's doing, they know people think Partey's a DM. No, he's not. Partey's the sort of guy who will get the ball and then run out the ball, and then everyone runs off him. But what teams are doing is that when Partey gets the ball, they're in on him. And stopping that play. So what they're doing is they're turning him into a DM because he's not able to sort of like be the kind of like midfield general, because that's the thing. If you look at the team's strengths, then what you do is right, the guy who's the eyes of the midfield, stop him from playing so he can't release the ball through for Odegaard and Xhaka, and then the same with Martinelli, double up on him so he doesn't go in those little pockets of space in the defence. So teams have got their tactics spot on against us, targeting two key players in order that kind of create space, and they know they can get away with it because Jesus isn't fit at the moment. So at the moment, it's as long as teams are able to sort of stay with us athletically, and keep their fitness up, then they're good to go.
100%. Listen, get home safe, mate. I'll do player ratings with Jez. But
right.
Yeah, man. Hopefully
See
Wednesday.
Monday,
man. Hopefully Wednesday we put a better performance in, because if we beat them, this don't really matter, I suppose, does it? But we'll see. We'll see. Get home safe, mate.
One thing we could do, we can finally concentrate on Man City because we've played Brentford there. So I'll speak to you guys later. See you later.
Okay, get home safe, mate. Love you, mate. Bye.